This year, the World Health Organization are focusing on beating diabetes for their World Health Awareness Day. Diabetes UK are urging men in particular to check out their risk of diabetes. It's after findings that showed that 38% more women than men used their Know Your Risk online tool, despite men being at greater risk of developing type 2 diabetes. And for those that already have the illness, Diabetes UK provide a free book sharing tips from families living with the condition. Our reporter Shan Robins caught up with a father from Horton Heath, whose travel tip was included in the book.
100 Things I Wish I'd Known About Diabetes shares the top tips from over 1,100 submitted to best manage the condition. Kevin's 15-year-old daughter Amy has type 1 diabetes, and one of his tips when travelling is number 43 in the book.
So it's a good idea to take an awful lot of supplies with you, to take more than you expect, but my tip was to double those amount of supplies and then to split them across 2 bags, but most importantly to actually take those 2 bags and keep a hand on each one, because we were travelling in a tuk-tuk, sort of a motorcycle taxi in India, and both the bags fell out because we didn't have a hand on them. So it's and we were just about to face an 18-hour journey on a train, so we would have been absolutely in a bad position without any insulin or anything like that.
So was the tuk-tuk able to stop and you were able to claim your supplies?
Well, no, we were lucky that the tuk-tuk driver got a phone call, and they don't bother stopping too much, but he did, and 2 men ran up to the tuk-tuk with these bags, and we thought they were after money or something like that, because you do get a little bit of that in India, but they were there just as good human beings, just returning our bags, and thank God they did, really, because we would have been stuck.
Kevin's daughter was aged just 10 when they discovered she had diabetes, and it came as a total surprise to the family.
She had some vouchers for Christmas, and so we went into Eastleigh, and as per usual I said go to the loo before we go, so off she went, and then we'd only been in the car a few seconds and she said, I need the toilet, and I was a bit cross with her and said, don't be so silly. Then we got into town, and she went shopping, but she wasn't really interested at all. And then she was saying, I'm so thirsty. And I bought her a drink, and she just downed it in one, which was really unusual for her. Then we came home, and for the rest of the day, she was just drinking pints of squash. And this was a girl who never really drank that much. And alarm bells were going, and I was thinking, she's got a urine infection. So next day, I took her to the doctor's.
I was supposed to be going to my friend's party, but we went to the doctor's because I'd been drinking loads. I don't usually drink lots at all, but I'd been drinking loads and going to the toilet loads. I hadn't noticed, but I'd been getting thinner and stuff. My friends told me later. But we went to the doctor's, and they said, we're going to do a finger prick test. So they did. And they said, we'll call you back, and you might have diabetes, we don't know, but then you might have to go to the hospital. And we went home thinking, it'll be all right, we can just go to my friend's party and I won't need to go. But they called us back, and they said, you need to go to the hospital because we think you've got type 1 diabetes. And we were like, can't we go tomorrow? And they went, no, you need to go now.
I thought, it's just a bad urine infection, But so I said to her, wear your party top in case we can just have the test, and then you can go to the end of the party. Well, we got in there, and probably what helped me was as we walked through the door, I saw a picture of the little girl who I'd taught who died. And so it kind of brought a bit of perspective into what was happening. But I was still totally in denial that anything was wrong. Amy had the finger prick test, and then within minutes we were taken into a room, and she was sat on my lap, and we were told she had type 1 diabetes, and I remember her saying, what's that mean? Is that for life, mummy? And Amelia and Kev were crying because they knew really what it meant, but Amy and I were just in shock, complete shock, and she didn't really understand what it meant.
In the past, people diagnosed with type 1 diabetes have traditionally lived shorter lives than those without. However, improvements in diabetes care in recent decades and early diagnosis are enabling people with type 1 diabetes to live significantly longer. Diabetes UK highlight the 4 T's to recognise the symptoms: being really thirsty, going to the toilet a lot, feeling tired, and losing weight or looking thinner. The family noticed when Amy needed to drink and go to the toilet excessively, but by then she'd lost a lot of weight in a fortnight.
Generally, the people with type 1 before they're diagnosed get very thirsty, so they become very, very dehydrated because of what the glucose levels are doing in their body. They become, with the tiredness, it is very tired. They want to sleep all the time. But of course, as a family, you don't realise what's going on. So really what you want to do is just keep going with normal life, and you just think the kid's being a little bit whingy, a little bit, sort of trying to get their own way perhaps. So actually they're really quite poorly. And it's very, very important that they get to the GP very, very quickly. But the problem is, if you don't know the signs, you don't know what to look for. And you only really discover that once you've actually been diagnosed. But Amy lost a stone in weight. So she was only 6 stone at the time. So to lose a stone, you would think, how can a parent not notice that? But the truth is, at the age that she wanted to take bath time alone sometimes. That was fine. We'd moved away from sort of bath times reading and playing to bath times were her time. So you just don't see things happening. So a stone in weight loss, and that probably happened over about 2 weeks as well. So that was an immense weight loss.
Kevin wants other parents to know in advance what to be looking out for.
Go to Diabetes UK, look at the 4 T's and see what to look for, because if we had known what to look for, then we could have actually helped Amy a lot sooner, and she wouldn't have lost the stone in weight, and we wouldn't have had the situation. And there's an awful lot of kids that end up effectively in what is a coma, and some don't get out of that.
And those early symptoms for type 1 diabetes are thirsty, toilet, tired and thinner. This is Shan Robins for That's Solent.